Welcome to Money Matters. I'm DCrowell from Mortgage Network, and I will be hosting the first half of the show today. I will be joined for the second half of the show by Emily Johnson of Polaris Capital, my usual partner on the show. So let me begin today. Today is, we're filming today, May 19th, and it's a Friday, and we are looking at a very busy and chaotic Washington again this week, with lots and lots and lots of topsy-turvy events, special counsels and special prosecutors and special commissions and special investigations of various kinds being lodged to investigate possible obstruction of justice and to investigate the role of the Russians in the election of the president most recently. So this is a very chaotic time. The importance to us at Money Matters is not political. It is economic, and we always look for what are the possible effects that will have on the nation and derivatively on the economy of the low country. So I'll focus on interest rates, and I'll focus on real estate, and we'll leave the other impact, which would be the impact on the markets and so forth, to Emily when she arrives. Interest rates in the past week have come down. We have seen 30-year fixed rates with a 3 in front of it for the first time in 4 months. The interest rate became solidly 3.875 or 3.99 this week. We saw the stock market come down. We saw bond prices go up, and when bond prices go up, it costs more to buy a bond of any denomination, which forces the yield of that bond down. So interest rates come down. Remember, it's always inverse. If you pay more for a bond of a certain face value, that means that the rate of return that you get on that bond is less, the rate of return being the effective interest rate. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac securities are trading strongly, which means that the interest rates have come down, and we have been writing mortgages all week at 3.99%. That's with no points for a client with perfect credit and perfect loan to value. Basically, the perfect loan is a 3.99 loan. It's interesting to see that happen, because this is a period in which economic growth overall has remained steady month over month over month. Again, leaving politics out of it, or trying to leave politics out of it as much as possible, we've had, I think, 48 or 50 or 52 weeks in a row, months in a row, excuse me, of growth in the labor market. Unemployment is reaching new lows almost every month, pre-recession lows. And so in the face of a stronger and stronger and stronger economy, even though the economy is growing slowly, it's still showing overall strength. One would have expected interest rates to have been going up rather more quickly. This has not occurred. There seems to be a balancing effect on rates. There seems to be still a surplus of capital in the economy. As long as there's a surplus of capital in the world economy, that capital is going to seek safe returns, and the bond market is the safest place for a return, and mortgage securities are one of the principal forms or sources of bond income. So mortgage securities are a form of bond and are AAA securities. With a growing economy, usually that puts pressure on inflation. Interest rates are composed of inflation plus rate of return. So one of the reasons our interest rates have been so low for so long is because the inflation rate has been very near zero. So you have an overall interest rate, like I just quoted, which is the 3.99%, which represents a rate of inflation of approximately 1.5 or 1.75%, with an actual return to the bondholders of an additional 1.5%. So rate of inflation 1.5%, return to the bondholders 1.5%, or 2%, and that gives you a composite interest rate of 3.5%, and then the costs involved and the market, the cost of composing and marketing and servicing the bonds makes up another 30 or 40 basis points, which gets you to your 3.99%. It's a very, very, very interesting phenomenon. If we had inflation, you would see those interest rates march up rather quickly. Today, the 19th of May, all the major economists who watch the bond market and who watch the mortgage securities market also watch the Federal Reserve and its behavior, because the Fed, through the Fed funds rate, through the federal funds rate, which is the price that banks can borrow money from the Federal Reserve open window, they give a 72% likelihood that the Federal Reserve will increase rates again in their June meeting. Now, there are two Federal Reserve governors who are giving speeches today, Friday, so we'll get a further indication from today's speeches of whether the Fed is still leaning in the direction of raising interest rates again in June. A 72% likelihood of a Fed raise in June means that credit cards, automobile loans, home equity lines will all go up by 0.25% in June if that occurs. What the Fed is reacting to is exactly as I just said. What the Fed is reacting to, and the likelihood that the Fed is going to increase rates in June, is based upon the Fed's own economic forecasts of inflation. So it's the same equation. The Fed's looking closely at inflation and trying to forecast how much inflationary pressure there is in the economy. And the Fed's trying to stay ahead of that. In other words, it's trying to make the price of money not too stiff, but not too easy. If it makes the price of money too easy, then there can be the risk of runaway inflation, of fueling the inflation and fueling growth too great. And if they keep the rates too high, then it runs the risk of shutting down the economy and stalling out the growth. So there's this constant balance between the interest rate, the inflation rate, and the overall growth rate. That's the story for this week. It's not the sort of stuff that makes you terribly excited and running around the room, but it's fascinating. 3.99%, that's the number to stick in your head as of today's show. Thank you.